All right. So today we are working on some Peterbilt parts for a semi, mostly all aluminum, except this piece here is steel and it did have some rust. So we did treat it. We sanded it down, cleaned it, and we treated it for rust. So all the little rust turns black and it pretty much converts it into like a primer. So as you see, we got the Camaro in primer. I got this door bodywork and primed, and then I just started blocking down on this fender the other day, kind of waiting for this piece here to dry up. Another semi part, different semi, but this needed some fiberglass work. It looks like they got hit and it ripped like the whole inside, so that way anybody out there wanting to prep aluminum could maybe learn and understand how to prep aluminum. But we are fixing some dents and some scratches, and we're gonna throw some primer. Like up here we got some body work here. So we did a little bit of body work on it, and we got to get some primer on it. I've seen some people epoxy over it and paint it, and that's okay, but things shrink, and when the bondo shrinks and the primer and the epoxy and all that shrink without knocking it down and getting it smooth, you'll see a lot of times you'll end up seeing a ring. Epoxy prime on the pieces that we don't need to prime, so we're just gonna prime those spots, and then since we're already with the primer, just throw a little bit of shot of primer down here at the sides. That way we could sand that smooth and just get a little bit of a smoother foundation. This is raw steel. Let me put some gloves on and we're gonna sand this down. So I'm gonna grab some 220 and knock that down real quick. This upside here, and then I do want to throw a shot here down the side, somewhere about that height. Throw a shot in and out, boom 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 boom. So let's move these here to the side. Here's what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do it. I already have everything sanded down. I'm gonna wipe it down now, so I'm gonna use some etch to spray on the metal, so that way we could throw our 2K primer on top. I kind of try to stick to the ways that work, and the best way is whether you etch it or you epoxy prime. So since we're not gonna epoxy prime right now, because epoxy primer is more like a sealer. It's called primer, but it's actually like a sealer. So it's very thin, it's not a prime, it doesn't build up, and it's not technically meant to be sanded down. So we're gonna do some etch on the outside on both pieces, and then we'll do a 2K primer on top. So I'm gonna wipe this down, go mix up some etch primer, so that way we can spray this stuff, and then start mixing up the primer, and let's throw a shot of primer on this baby. Dries off, we're gonna go make some edge primer and get spraying. All right, so we have our edge primer in here, we have our spray gun, and now we're gonna throw a medium wet coat. So I got my primer mixed up. I actually had it sitting here. I took lunch. So we're just gonna throw our first shot of primer on the parts and also on this piece. I am a little bit low, so now we're gonna let that tack off a little bit, and then we're gonna throw a second shot. I might have to mix up some more, I'm not sure. So we got primer on the parts. I thought I was gonna have to mix more, but no, I didn't. I was able to come back for a third coat. So I pretty much put 3 coats where all my body work was, and on this surface out here, and I was able to double coat this and put a third on that shot of Bondo that it had there. And then I was able to put 3 very nice heavy shots on this here too. So it actually turned out pretty good. All that was made. So yeah, and then since I had some primer, I had a little ding here, which I happen to have another one here I didn't know of. So little by little, I'll go fixing those and priming those spots. So yeah, we're pretty much done with the parts. We got it in primer now. Next is let it sit. I like to sit for at least 24 hours. I like to leave everything the most as possible. On cars that I do in and out, that are not like show high end, but still factory, I at least go 24 hours. And if it's something like really nice that has body work that we want it perfect, I let it sit as long as I can. So this one here has been sitting. I primed it, when was it? I think Friday, Saturday. So it's been like 5 days. So we've been 5 days that it's been primed. Another thing that I personally like to do in a case like this vehicle, if this car were to drive, I would pull it outside in the sun for a day or two and just let the sun sit down and bake it. That's a great thing. It lets all the shrinking just go ahead and shrink from the Bondo to the primer, so that way when you block it, you get a very nice smooth finish. But we cannot roll this thing outside because I'm scared it might end up in the neighbor's house. And one of the keys to primer is letting your first coat that you put on there, letting it flash off completely. That will speed up your cure time. If you throw one shot on there and it's still kind of wet and you go ahead with a second shot and your third, your first one is kind of trapping in and it's going to take a while for it to dry. So make sure you flash off in between every coat, especially that first one. And tomorrow we're going to come back in and we're going to knock it down with 400. We're going to go with 400 grit, maybe some 320 on the bodywork, but we're going to finish off with 400. And we're going to be painting this with a full thing urethane single stage paint. And then we're going to also follow up with a shot of clear on top just to give it extra UV protecting and be able to wash easy and not stain and fade over time. So hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to sand it down and possibly paint it. So, well, you know what, now that I say that, we got to finish off these caps. So I guess this looks good, but we got to finish that. So I guess let's pull that up and check that out. All right, so we got these valve covers from a semi Caterpillar. So we got these things stripped down with paint remover because they were painted black, it looks like from factory, and the paint was just flaking just everywhere, very crusty, all inside here. And it was just to the point that trying to sand all that out and feather edge and smooth all of it was gonna just take forever. What I decided was, since I had some paint remover, I put paint remover all 3 of them. I still don't know if I'm happy about it or not, but because it worked, but one of them there still needs a lot, so it probably need a second coat. So after I paint removed it, I pressure washed it, I got all that stuff off, I brought it back in the next day and I flaked everything with a spatula, with a screwdriver, and just really try to get stuff off, and I blew it off really good. And this is kind of what we're left with. We still have some shriveling down here on the sides, so it's kind of rough, and it's to the point where I already did one of them and I sanded it down, and the one I did was kind of like in this condition. It wasn't really that bad, but it wasn't like really good. and it wasn't bad, but man, there was quite some time into not these outside, but like these creases in here where you kind of have to hit by hand. Those are the parts that are a little bit stressful. So yeah, so the next thing would be whether hit it another round, grab some paint remover and hit it another round and wait and wash it and do all that. It's just, honestly, me saying it almost makes me want to do it. I'm thinking what to go. I wanted to show you guys the one that I already have pretty much ready. So this is pretty much done. I was able to get 99% of all the paint off, all inside these grouts, and it took me like, I don't even know, like a good half a day. Like I have several hours into this piece alone, getting all this all up in here. So this one's pretty much ready to be sealed and painted, but I still got 2 left, and that sucker was super time consuming. So I pretty much just went over it with a coat, and you can see, ooh, look at that, ooh. Oh man, look at that. Oh, that's nice. Oh, it's working good now. It's working. Can't say it don't work. You just might have to go 2 or 3 rounds and really clean it up. If I could just clean it up a little bit better, you know, maybe like this one, then that's gonna help me shave off some time on the sanding part, the back and forth. And then I'm gonna go outside, get the pressure washer set up, so that way we can take it straight out and just hose it off and clean them up. And these are aluminum, they're not steel, so we don't really have to worry too much about the whole rusting. And then pressure wash it and then sand these babies down, and then we'll be ready for some paint action. So let's get to it. So we're about to take these out to wash, when I just look over and I see the headlights to this semi we're also doing. I totally forgot. This was the first thing that came in to do, and then later on all these other parts came in, and I just set them aside. I totally forgot about them. So they are washed, they're acid washed, degreased, but they need to be sanded and prepped. So they don't need no body work that I know of, but man, I almost forgot about that. So we're back to here. We're about to move this outside so that way we can pressure wash. Everything looks pretty good. Looks like a good amount is gonna come off. This one more than that one, but looks pretty good. We are now 2 down, and number 3. All right, we got all 3 done. Now, so we can work on this piece here. But those are pretty much ready to be blown, wiped off, and pretty much get ready for paint. So now we're gonna move on to these pipes. Pretty much knock the primer off and clean them up and get it ready for paint. So as soon as we have a chance, we're gonna spray them. guys, I'm actually running low on battery, so I'm gonna have to speed this up a little bit. But we got our first shot of epoxy primer. As you saw, you don't have to go over the prime spots. You could if you want, you could just throw a shot all over, but you don't have to. We are going with a white, so the white's gonna help to hide any little imperfections like pores and chips and things like that. And we are using a single stage. So anyways, we got one shot on everything. Everything looks pretty good. Everything's holding good. I don't see no reactions, no chemical, no nothing. Everything looks pretty clean. And with the epoxy primer, it's pretty much one medium wet coat. That's pretty much, and if you want, after it tacks off 10-15 minutes, then you could go over with a second coat if you want, but there's not a need to. So I'm not gonna go over a second coat on this, on these valves. I thought I was gonna do a second coat, but these things actually look really nice. They're very nice and smooth, so I'm not gonna do that. But I do want to throw a second coat on this light, because this light was kind of porous, and I can see where it's kind of sucking it in a little bit. And then those pipes are pretty good. So since I have quite some left over, I'm gonna throw a second shot on these lights, and we'll let those valve covers dry up a little bit and see how they look in a little bit. Oh guys, you guys are gonna kill me. I already painted this stuff. I got in the zone and I'm on the time and this and that, and I'm painting stuff, and now that I look, I didn't even get no damn color on this thing. Jesus. All right, so I just sprayed those two little pieces in the single stage. So I got my gun full of clear. We're about to start on this side and work our way out that way and clear this baby. All right, everything is done and painted, and I had to go change the battery on my GoPro, so I am sorry. You should subscribe so that way you can see me paint this 77 Firebird, because I am recording about it. So check out some of my videos. I'm showing a lot on how to do body work and sanding and things like that. And we're getting really close to start spraying some parts. So if you really want to see the spray part on the base coat, clear coat, things like that, then make sure you subscribe and stay tuned, because I'm going to be showing you how I spray this right here. So I went ahead and I threw a nice wet coat of clear, just one wet coat. And check it out, man, that clear. And now I'm using some other clear now, and that the paint store recommended me, that was really good. So I'm kind of testing it and trying it, but so far I like it a lot. Now white is the brightest color, and it's hard to see like reflections, but you can see reflection even on this white. And then these covers here, look at that. Now I wouldn't say, you know, honestly, I'd say they're about show quality. I was gonna say not show quality, because I could always find 2 or 3 little things that I could fix and tweak, and you know, you kind of always find the little thing that you could have done here, you could have done there. But I've seen show stuff that's worse than this, so I guess this is pretty much up there on nice high quality. A show quality to me would be to wet sand it down and polish it. That's what makes it a show quality, in my opinion. But this stuff here is pretty much what I say a factory finish. This sucker here also looks really nice, but everything looks really good, really good. So I have to do it to make me happy, that I have to be satisfied with it, that I would put this on my car. And I know that if I'm happy with it, there's a high chance that the customer is gonna love it. So that's the goal. That painting in this spot, you know, with all the stuff in the garage, you would think that it'd be horrible, but no, I mean, it's very clean, very clean. There you guys have it. I'm out of here. I'm not gonna let you guys go. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to learn more about working on cars, especially painting. You guys pretty much seen the steps, the process of what it took, and how to do it correctly. When you're prepping aluminum parts and steel parts and things like that, you got to prep it differently than prepping your paint or a plastic bumper. They're the same but a little bit different. So subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.